What's going on, guys? So, got an update video for y'all. I quit Transwood. Now, I know I made the video talking about how much I love the company and everything like that, and I truly do. I still do. I still keep up with my coworkers and my total manager and my dispatchers. It was truly like family. I love the company. However, I had to quit. Well, I didn't have to quit. I just took a substantial pay cut. And if you're asking how much of a pay cut I took what are they doing up here? Looks like they're doing some kind of construction. I took about a $42,000 to $47,000 a year pay cut. Give y'all a second to let that sink in. That's a substantial fucking pay cut. Substantial pay cut to take. $40-something thousand a year pay cut. Massive. Let's go ahead and dive into it. As you guys know, I was a system driver. I did a mix. System for Transwood, which is technically OTR. Out of Augusta was very, I don't want to say weird, but for me, considering I lived in town with the terminal, I had options. Let's say they had a person that was a system driver that was domiciled out of Augusta but lived somewhere else. They didn't have options. They had to run the road. It is what it is. They couldn't do local. They had nowhere to go. There were times where somebody would come in and work a local run as a system driver. He would come in and do a local run to help out because he was passing through, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But outside of that, it wasn't like an everyday thing. For me, I live out here in this area, so I was able to say, hey, I need to work local for about a week or two. I got some stuff I want to take care of at the house with the family and kids and wife and stuff. Or I'm just like, hey, I want to do some of our dedicated runs and whatnot. So I'd be out Monday through Friday, or just leave out Monday, be back Wednesday, and then do local work. I was able to have a very flexible schedule. And when freight was moving, I don't want to say very well, but well enough to where we could stay busy and people had work. Things were great. I was making good money out in the system. I would come home and work local. Money working local was not as much as being out on the road, but it was still nothing to scoff at, being how flexible I can make my schedule. It was a pretty sweet fucking gig. I really had no complaints. I will say, before we get into the review of Transwood, I will say I enjoyed my management and my management team for the company as a whole in Transwood. And I'm a firm believer that I don't really think trucking company, there are some companies with bad policies and bad practices, sure, yeah. But I truly think the biggest factor that can make a person hate or fall in love with a company, their experience with the company, is I think it truly heavily, not 100%, but heavily lies on heavily lies on your management and your dispatchers and how well all of y'all work together. Because if you and your dispatch and your management are on the same page, you're going to do well, the company's going to do well, everybody's going to be able to make money. So it's not really an issue, I felt like my management and my dispatcher out of Terminal 309 in Augusta, Georgia, I really felt like they were on my side and had my back. That doesn't mean I got what I wanted all the time. Nobody ever gets that in life. That's just not realistic. But for all intents and purposes, and in the grand scheme of things, I was pretty fucking happy with my management team, my dispatchers, and it's just how they treated me, the mechanics, all of it. It fucking worked. It was great. But like I said, I took a substantial pay cut, and we're going to jump into that now that I'm got off that rant. So probably around the time where I dropped that video really talking about Transwood, I just got home actually from like that run or one of the runs that are close to it, and my dispatcher had pulled me in, and she said, "Hey, just a heads up, Trans was looking at getting rid of system drivers, which was my role, out of Augusta, Georgia." And I said, "Okay, so what does that mean for me?" And she said, "Well, let's get into more detail about it. They're getting rid of your role, meaning that they're not hiring any more people to do it. System work is kind of slow and it doesn't seem to be picking up. And the company is saying that that because you have not, this isn't my fault. It is what it is. Because when you first go out on the road, you have to go so far to pick up your first load. Because after the hurricanes and whatnot hit up there in actually this part of the country, everybody was, what was it, Helene? Everybody was all, Asheville and whatnot. Augusta got hit very hard, and that didn't seem to make news day or whatever. I don't care. But Augusta, we got hit with the totality of the storm. This area was impacted heavily. It was devastating. But because everything that happened up in the Asheville, North Carolina, that area was wiped out, specifically I-40 in the Gorge, that was the route that I would have to take to get to Knoxville down to pick up my load. Then I usually run out in the system and be out on the road. That's what they claimed the reason was. If you want my personal opinion, I don't think that was the reason. I think the reason was a mixture of not having the freight and inefficient dispatching. Because from my mentality, and maybe I'm wrong, y'all can correct me in the comment section. I'm just a company driver, what do I know? But if I am willing to spend, look at this, I wish I could have flipped the camera. This guy cut this Eagle driver off with maybe like 30 feet of space. And he has no reason to. Interstate's wide fuck open, no reason to. Anyway, if I'm an owner-operator running my own truck, do I want to realistically make a 5 to 6 hour deadhead to pick up my first load or a load? No. But if I'm willing to stay out for 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time, and every other load subsequent to that is efficiently moved, I'm doing minimal deadheading and spending more time loaded than I am empty, in my mind, I would eat the cost of that one initial load to get me out of the house. Because I know in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I'm going to greatly make up that profit. Because I'm efficiently moving. That's my thought process, but I think it's a mixture of that long trip out of Augusta to go to Knoxville, and then inefficient dispatching while out on the road. Because if I'm paying a driver, which was me, I'm still getting paid. I'm still making good money. Because I'm still getting paid for the work that I'm doing. But I'm not moving, on a company standpoint, I'm not moving enough cargo or freight to justify having that driver do all that he's doing. The profit is not there. Because if I'm making, $2,000, $2,500, maybe $3,000 a week, I have to pay that to a driver. But if that driver's only moving 2 or 3 loads a week and the rates are shit, that's a huge chunk out of that profit. And then fuel for the truck, maintenance, all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't profitable for the company. And I can understand that from a company standpoint. Do I think it's fair to me? Not really. Sounds like they need to revamp the way they do things instead of just saying, well, just get rid of that role of the driver. So they told me that was possibly going to happen. I said, well, what does that mean for me? They said that they're not going to hire that role anymore. And then I got back and they're just like, hey, so what we're looking at doing is maybe you're going to be working local in our dedicated runs primarily. And if a good system run comes up that's paying decent money, if you're willing to do it, we'll put you on it and let you run it. All right, cool. That was said before the Christmas holiday, like Thanksgiving time frame. This is when they told me that. So Christmas holiday happens, New Year happens, ready to hit the background running, ready, I called them like, hey, what's my dispatch? Daddy Gibbs trying to make some money. Where y'all sending me? And then they said, oh, we're not doing system anymore out of Augusta. Period. None. That's it. No more. And I'm just like, not even a little bit. They're like, we're actually trying to downsize. We're not doing any of that kind of stuff. Like, they're just like, so you're officially 100% local or dedicated. I said, all right, I can work with that. I understand that the money I was making on the system, I'm not going to be able to make working local in Augusta. Like, it's not even going to come close. Even if I worked my entire clock in Augusta, working local, I was not going to make what I was making working the system. That pay scale difference is just massive. And I said, so me personally, if I don't live my life to where I need to see fucking $2,500, $3,000 a week to be able to survive financially. I like the extra money because I like extra money, but realistically, I don't need to make a shit ton of money to keep my overhead relatively low as I possibly can. So I said, as long as I'm honest to God, really seeing, 1,700 or more, I'm okay with that. And then they're like, oh, well, we'll see what we can do. I don't know. So, and which they did, they gave an honest to God effort, but local work out here is it's slow. And on top of that, I think they could use their minds a little bit more. I don't want to bash them, but it's just kind of, I can say so much stuff because as a driver, you see it one way, management might see it another way. I don't know. That this is just my personal opinion, but I'm going to stick to the facts, and I'll save opinions for another time. Between freight being slow and just certain small things that management missed, the work was just not there. They actually laid off one of the guys in the shop. They laid off my primary dispatcher. She'd been at the company for so long. She was dispatching there when my dad was a driver. She was my dad's dispatcher, and they laid her off. You know how long they'll be at the company? I remember being in middle school and high school when my dad drove for Terminal 309, and she was his dispatcher. You know how long ago that was? She'd been at the company for a long time, and they let her go. They were talking about, letting go of some of the drivers. That started being a thing. They were just hurting real bad. So, on top of that, my work schedule was so inconsistent. It would be like, I would work like, Monday I would probably come in at like 2 o'clock in the morning, do like an 8-hour run, if that. And then I would do a strict 10-hour break after completing that run, which you're not tired because we work 14-hour days, so what's 8 hours out of a 14-hour day? Come back in at another time, do a full 14-hour day, then I would be done, Tuesday afternoon. And then I would take my 10-hour break. I'm ready to go Wednesday morning, but instead they'd have me want to do a Wednesday night run. So now I'm doing a Wednesday night run into Thursday, and then come back, take like a 10-hour break, and then do it. It was such, and then sometimes I would have a scheduled load, so I'd plan a doctor's appointment or whatever I'd have to do. They'd cancel it, put me on something else, which completely ruined my plans. Sometimes I would be off, and then they were saying, hey, can you come in and do X, Y, Z? Well, sure, I guess so. Yeah, work is slow. So I kind of had to jump at the opportunity to make money. Work is slow. And then on top of it being so slow like that, I still wasn't making remotely close to what I was hoping to make. So yeah, I was just like, hey, look, I'm not gonna say names. I was like, hey, look, general manager, this is what I'm trying to make. This is what I want to make. I do not want to leave the company. I love it here. that way. With the new company that I'm with now, I still go to a lot of the same places. I'm hauling a completely different product, but a lot of industries still use multiple types of product, and there's still, I'm still going to a lot of the same plants. I actually went over, delivered next door to Olin, the place that I used to pick up from. Then I called my buddy. I was like, "Hey, you loading right now?" Olin goes like, "Well, yeah, I'm sitting here waiting." But yeah, I said, "Bro, I just delivered next door. I'm about to pull up." I pulled up, and there was me, my buddy, and one of the other drivers, who was one of the senior drivers, and pulled up in the new company truck. Where we sat in the parking lot and talked for like an hour and a half because shit, I had time. My day was done at the other company, my new company. My day was done. I was just chilling. I didn't have to be back at the yard. I wasn't getting paid for anything, but whatever. I make really good money at the company now, so whatever. I didn't mind sitting and waiting. Yeah. Talked to them. He was telling me shit is still real slow, real bad. Last week he only worked like 2 or 3 days, and then the week before that he had a fucking wild week, and then said outside that I haven't really seen a wild week in a long time. Like wide open, good money week in a long time. They lost a lot of contracts. They're continuing to lose some contracts. Some of it's their fault. Some of it is the fault of the company that they're picking up from. They're still hurting. A lot of the same narrative that was going on when I was there is still there. They're still hurting. I love the company. I love the people. I originally said when I left, I was just like, I would most likely go back if things are like did a complete 180 and shit was booming. It was wild and money was like it was when I first went there. But realistically, where I'm at now, I don't fucking know. I don't think I'm gonna leave here. I don't think I'm gonna leave here. It's a really sweet gig, and I'll make another video. So this one doesn't be too long. I'll make another video talking about my new company. Completely different form of trucking. Had to learn something very new. Still tanker work, but not like 307, 407 stainless series tanker trailers. Not that. Something very new. Wanted to try it. Never really thought about it. I wanted to try it, but it was something that's like very far in the back of my mind. But I looked up and I found it, and yeah. So all in all, no longer at Transwood. I'm somewhere else now, and yeah. If I had to rate my experience on a scale of no stars to 5 stars with Transwood, I'd have to break it up into categories. But I would say I'd give them 3.5 to 4 stars. 3.75 stars to 4 stars. Out of 5. 3.75 to 4 out of 5. There's some things I could say that were negative, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I can say that's negative that management, in my opinion, could have done better. But like I said in the beginning of the video, you cannot put a price tag. You can't. At the beginning of the video, I said you have a management team that truly cared about me. That'll make or break your time as a driver at a company. How happy you are, how well you and your management works together. And my management and I work together very well at this company. There's some things that I feel that they could have done better as management, but at the end of the day, you cannot put a price tag on having management that 150%, without a shadow of a doubt, cares about your success as a driver. Do I think the company cared about my success as a driver? No. Do I think my management at Terminal 309 in Augusta, Georgia cared? Yes. But when it comes down to it, even my management has someone to report to. And sometimes their bosses tell them to do things that they don't necessarily agree with, but they have to do it. So, and it's a trickle-down effect. So I don't put blame on them 100% at all, because it's not all of them. Sometimes they're following the orders, because just like I like my job and I want to keep my job, they like their job and they want to keep their job. It's that simple. I feel like a lot of drivers don't understand that at times. They're just 100% pro me. I'm pro driver, but I'm also pro understanding where the company's coming from, and that your bosses have bosses to report to, and all kind of stuff like that. There's nobody's just out here willy-nilly doing what the hell they feel like doing. Everybody's got somebody to report to, and it is what it is. So all in all, 20 minute video. Didn't mean to make it this long, but I left Transwood. I'm no longer at Transwood. I loved my terminal. I loved my co-workers. They were great. Not perfect, but when it comes down to it, I wouldn't want to. I don't have real negative shit to say about them. I loved them. And then when I say I love them like I love my family. Like, not like, oh, just whatever, I'm cool with them. Like, they're good people. They're fucking good people. Hang out with them outside of work, like all of that. They were great. And I'm happy that my new company, I still get to see them a decent amount, because we just go to a lot of the same places. But I am going to miss them and working with them and stuff like that. So yep, I just pulled up at the chiropractor because I want to get my back adjusted. Nothing's wrong, I just gotta maintain your body, maintain yourself. But anyway, I'm here at the chiropractor now. I'm gonna hop off of this. I left Transwood. I wish them the best. Godspeed. I love you guys. If y'all ever come across this video, anybody from Augusta, y'all are great. I'm gonna miss y'all, but I'm happy to be able to run into you guys at the new company. But yeah, YouTube world, I am no longer at Transwood. I'm gonna go get my back cracked, and then I'm going to drive over to Walmart. And while I'm driving to Walmart, I'll make y'all a second video. Well, technically this is 4. I'm gonna make y'all a second video talking about the new company and what I'm doing now.